If you like watching international marathons, you'll be familiar with the name of top Kenyan runner Tegla Larup. But there's more to Tegla than travelling the world, winning international honours for her country. Back home, she's involved in the fight against cattle thieves. In Kenya, armed cattle raids regularly lead to people being killed or having to flee their homes. And about a month ago, Kenyan armed forces launched a big operation against cattle rustlers. And as the BBC's Wairimu Gitahi now reports, Tegla Larup has been trying to do her bit by setting up an athletics foundation to offer youngsters in northwestern Kenya an alternative to becoming involved in cattle rustling.
Cattle are the most important aspect in any pastoralist community. They are the main source of livelihood. They are used as food, they are sold to pay for the family upkeep and to pay bride price, among other purposes. But for many pastoralist communities in Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia and Somalia, cattle have also become a source of great tragedy. Daniel Olongusura, who comes from the Maasai pastoralist community, is singing a song he and his colleagues used to sing when they were preparing to go on a raid. But after singing a few verses, Daniel tells me he can't carry on because the song reminds him of all the bad things he did when he was a cattle rustler, and this makes him very sad.
Cattle
rustling is a bad thing. I remember one day we went to raid a homestead. When we arrived, we found they had only one cow and we stole it. Imagine, we stole the only cow they had and we didn't care. This is how cattle rustlers behave. We left the children and the rest of the homestead with no source of milk. We left them in abject poverty. All the cows we stole when we raided did not benefit us in any way because what we were doing was sinful.
Daniel's feelings about cattle rustling echo those of other pastoralists I talked to.
Wengine wanaachwa wakiwa maskini na hata wengine watoto wao wanaachwa na
It's not good because it increases poverty and children are left without their fathers when they are killed during these raids.
Watoto wanaachwa wakiwa maskini.
The people who raid think they gain, but all they are doing is inviting curses. When stealing cattle, they leave the calves without their mothers, and these calves moo very often because they are missing their mothers, and these cries are curses on the raiders.
Cattle rustling is not good because if my son is a cattle rustler, he might be killed. If not killed, he may be injured seriously. And this would make me incur a lot of hospital bills, which may even force me to sell all the cattle I have in my homestead.
The consequences of these raids are financially devastating for the families. Their resulting poverty is even made worse by the severe droughts that often ravage these poor pastoralist communities and kill off their remaining cattle. In recent years, the use of guns to raid has meant that many people have lost their lives. Tegla Larup was the first African woman to win the New York Marathon in 1994, and she's still a front runner. She has set up an initiative to stop cattle rustling, a problem that affects her own home area.
My family were a victim several times of being raped, and who else can come and encourage these people? If somebody must come from this community, and it was only me. Stealing from one another doesn't help, but costs a lot of lives. And government should understand that there is a need to help these people so that they can have protection.
Her initiative, the Tegla Larup Foundation, is involved in various development projects. Among them is a project to train talented teenagers who would otherwise be cattle rustling to become athletes. Mark is among a dozen young men who have changed their ways thanks to Tegla's initiative.
Jina langu naitwa Mark Logtare.
My name is Mark Lokitale. I'm 27 years old. When I was a young boy, I spent most of my time herding cattle. The area I come from has very poor infrastructure. There are no schools or hospitals, and the harvest is usually not enough. To escape this poverty, I decided to become a cattle rustler, thinking this would make my life better. I joined a big gang of cattle rustlers, and we used to live in the forest. We would attack villages and steal their cattle. I thank God because I never killed anyone. I carried a gun and often shot in the air when we were raiding, so if I killed anyone, I didn't notice. But some of my colleagues would sometimes kill if the people we were raiding tried to stop us from taking their cattle.
Nikaenda kuiba kama Karamojong, huko Karamojong, kutoka Karamojong nikaenda Turkana.
We stole cattle in different places, like in Karamojong, Turkana, and Morokoi. One day when we were in Morokoi, I saw people running up and down a hill. This was very unusual, so I asked why they were running and why they had cars trailing them. I was told that they were training so that they can compete. I thought this was a good idea because they said the people won fantastic prizes like cars. So I decided to join them. After talking to Tegla, I went and sold my gun and I bought 2 pairs of sports shoes and tracks. From then on, my life changed for good. I never went back to cattle wrestling.
The foundation organizes annual races in Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia to bring together warring pastoralist communities. When Mark first competed in one of these races, he won. So Tegla arranged for him to run in the London Marathon in 2004. But because of lack of experience, he didn't fare well. Even so, Tegla tells me Mark has had a great influence on other pastoralists in West Pokot, where he lives.
Well, Wairim, you have to understand, Mark was a real warrior who was staying in the forest, fighting and stealing and selling. But it happened that when he came for this race, everybody was from his group. They were shocked that Mark Lokdare ran, and he caught 25,000 Kenya shillings, of which he bought, like, I think 6 cows. He went home and talked with a friend and said, listen, I caught these cows. I didn't kill anybody. There was not blood, but it was clean money. My dear friends, it is time for us to train. We have other means.
Hini nyumbani sasa.
Sasa huyu ni wewe?
Hini mimi na ndugu yangu.
Just before Mark and I said goodbye after a long chat about his adventurous life, he produced some pictures he wanted to show me. The first was of himself in African dress, adorned with beautiful beaded necklaces and bangles. On his feet were leather sandals. He told me that when he was a cattle rustler, he always dressed like this. On the second picture, Mark was looking very different. He was wearing sneakers and a tracksuit. These days, he said, he can't dress in African attire as often as he used to because of his new profession as an athlete. The photos made me realize how dramatically the Tekla Lorupe Foundation has changed Mark's life, and what a difference it will bring to other cattle rustlers by helping them to trade in their guns for running shoes.
And meeting Kenyan marathon runner Tegla Lorupe for Outlook was the BBC's Wairimu Gitahi.